It looks like Upland is on the verge of releasing a new city, but don't panic just yet, it might not be as bad as you think. Hello everybody, this is Radishhead and welcome back to another episode of Upland Analysis. I woke up this morning, logged onto the Discord as I always do, and this gentleman here, the Turbo, has done a little bit of digging inside the code of Upland, and he's discovered that a city ID number 33 has recently been added into the code. The name of that city, Detroit. That's right. It sounds like we are very likely to be seeing Detroit in Upland very soon. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but usually these cities get added to the API or the code of the game fairly soon before the official announcement of the city. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an official announcement for Detroit in the next couple of weeks. And I know what you're all thinking. We've just had LA. We've all run out of UPIX. And you know, people are stressing out enough as it is about the fact that Los Angeles has so many unminted properties, including unminted collection properties, which, by the way, if you do have a bit of UPIX lying around, I feel like long term, investing in Los Angeles collection properties is probably a pretty good way to go. Of course, there might be people now who are thinking, well, why don't I just save up for Detroit? Well, I decided in preparation for the upcoming Detroit announcement, I decided to pull up a few pieces of data about the city. And I was thinking, what's the closest city in Upland right now that I could compare to Detroit to think about the impact they might have on the game? And of course, Cleveland immediately came to mind. They're both have industrial roots. Geographically, they're both located fairly close to one another. And so I loaded up Cleveland and Detroit statistics on here. So obviously the data on this website, towncharts.com, isn't going to be exactly the same as the reality in Upland, but if I use the same website for both cities, we already know how Cleveland looks and how expensive it is, for example, within Upland. So if I use the same site for Cleveland and Detroit, we can get a sense for how it's going to look in Upland. So I wanted to start with Cleveland because we're already familiar with it. This website here says there's 212 housing units in Cleveland. Compare that to Detroit. They think that Detroit has 363,000 housing units. So if you think about that in terms of Upland, it sounds like Detroit is going to be significantly larger than Cleveland. So there's going to be a lot more properties to purchase, a lot more properties to mint. Now that might be panicking some people even more. They're thinking, oh no, not only is there a new city coming, it's going to be a big city. And I know exactly what you're thinking, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Now, if we scroll down to figure 9 here, the home price distribution in Cleveland. Now, we already know in Upland, Cleveland is a cheap city. I know it's all been minted out for a while now, so those of you who are joining the game might not appreciate this, because I think the floor price in Cleveland right now is about 10,000. In fact, let me load up my favorite website in the whole world, upxland.me. I'd recommend this website to anybody who wants to get a sense for how much they should be pricing their properties at, stuff like that. So let's have a look. Let's go to Cleveland, and we are going to search for properties by their mint price. So we don't care if they're for sale or not. Let's just see how much these were selling for back when the city originally came out. And here we go. This, for those of you who weren't around when Cleveland was introduced into the game, these are the cheapest properties that were around in Cleveland. Wow. Look, can you imagine being this guy? These are Euclid Avenue properties. They were minted for 608 UPIX, and now they're worth 140k because they're rare. Of course, Cleveland was released as a vanilla city, so nobody knew where the collections were. So some very lucky person managed to grab these for 600 UPIX and is now able to sell them for like a lot more, which is pretty cool. Of course, we don't know if Detroit would be a vanilla city or a standard city. Standard being where you know what the collections are before launch, and vanilla being that the collections are a surprise until a week after the launch. But that's not the topic of today's video. What I want to tell people is that yes, there could be a city coming to Upland, it could be Detroit, and yes, there's going to be potentially a lot of unminted properties in a game where there's already a lot of unminted properties in Los Angeles, but it's not the same. Look at this, look at how much the properties were in Cleveland when the city came out. There, I mean, these are small, but look, 700, 800 UPIX. This is the cheapest 200. Let's load up the cheapest, like, I don't know, couple of thousand properties, for example. So there you go. I've just loaded up the data for 2,000 properties in Cleveland. Now I'm just going to click the next button a few times, and we're going to see what the 2000th cheapest property was to mint in Cleveland back when the city came out. And there you have it. The 2000th cheapest property in Cleveland was 1,475 UPIX. That means there were 2,000 properties cheaper than 1,475 UPIX when the city came out. Literally thousands of properties available for 1k, 2k, 3k. It was a new player's paradise. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Radish, I don't care. Cleveland minted out months ago. I can't buy properties in Cleveland for 1,000 UPIX now. Why are you telling me this? Well, dear viewer, the reason I'm telling you this is because, as is almost famously the case, it's not just Cleveland that has quite cheap housing in the United States. And in fact, where Cleveland's average price looks like it's about $75,000, what's the Detroit situation? Well, it looks like it's closer to below 50,000. That is a massive drop on the Cleveland number. So if we were able to get thousands of properties in Cleveland for 1, 2, 3,000 UPIX, I think it's fair to say that the exact same situation will be the case in Detroit. And just to kind of emphasize that, I was thinking about the new city tiering system. And with that information in mind, let's think. So the price for Detroit will obviously be low. I think the size of Detroit is either medium or large. I'm going to say large. It's a big city. There's not that many cities bigger than Detroit around, I don't think. And for icon factor, like I mean, it's iconic, true in certain ways. You know, people think about like the car industry, but like in the modern day, I feel like Upland would probably place Detroit as a icon level 3, so it's like the lowest, right? What does that make it? It makes it a 313. If I go to this table down here and look for 313, what we might expect from Detroit is that it will have an airport. There might be about 13 to 19 collections, and most importantly of all, it will have an average FSA allocation of 70%, more than any other city tier in the game. So Detroit could be exactly what you guys are looking for. I've seen people in the comments in my recent videos who are very excited for LA. They've just joined the game, but they can't buy anything there for the 4,500 UPIX they start with. Well, don't worry. I know it's not as attractive a place as LA, but everybody knows that LA is expensive. The prices in Upland are mapped to the real world. So if you have to start off in Detroit, flip your properties to players like me who aren't able to buy those FSA properties, because of course FSA properties are reserved for players with a net worth below 100,000 UPIX. You might be able to buy 4 properties with your starting UPIX, get your collections in, get that bonus UPIX, buy another property, flip them. You might be able to get double your money because people like me won't be allowed to mint the vast majority of properties in Detroit. So you can flip them quite quick, get more UPIX, maybe double your UPIX, and then you can travel to LA and start minting stuff there. It's the absolute dream. I think that this is a really, really smart move by Upland, and if it does turn out to be a 313 tier city, I think anyone watching this who is an FSA eligible player, so your net worth is below 100k, I think you're going to have a lot of fun being a bit of a slumlord in Detroit, just minting up as much as you can, flipping it to players like myself who can't mint FSA properties, and it could be a really good opportunity for you guys to get a foothold in the game, because that's what it's all about. That starting UPIX that you get is supposed to allow you to grab a few properties and get a foothold, understand what the game's all about, and then get involved with the wider economy. At the moment, there really is no way for players to do that without putting money into the game, and I don't like that. I think Upland knows that as well. A big part of their appeal is that you don't need to put money down to get into the game. I think it's great. I'm really excited for Detroit. Even though I'm not going to be able to mint most of it, you better believe I'm going to have a collection prediction video for Detroit once it's announced. So keep an eye out for that and subscribe if you want to stay tuned for that one. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd also love it if you gave me a like, because it really honestly does help me out a great deal. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.